And now we are joined by Volodymyr Hulyahin, head of the communications department of the 81st Separate Airmobile Slobosanska Brigade of the Air Assault Forces. Mr. Volodymyr, welcome.
Hello.
According to the Institute for the Study of War, Russian troops have intensified offensive actions in the Sloviansk direction. Do you feel increased pressure in your area of responsibility?
Well, in reality, our situation remains unchanged since, in principle, the enemy is constantly conducting assault operations with the aim of getting closer to Sloviansk and generally intensifying large-scale actions from our defensive line towards Sloviansk. Accordingly, we can't say that we feel it very much because, in principle, if we compare it to last year, they used to carry out massive assaults together with armored vehicles. At the moment, that's not happening. For the most part, their tactics remain unchanged. This is an infiltration tactic. One or two people enter, accumulate, and accordingly, once a certain number has gathered, or when there are enough personnel, they try to assault our positions. So, to say that we are seeing any large-scale offensive actions, we wouldn't say that.
But given that Sloviansk is one of the key areas for the enemy in the near future, they really want to occupy the entire Donetsk region. So do you see an increase in the enemy group or a transfer of forces there?
Well, we don't see the buildup of any new additional forces. Let's put it this way. As we generally treat the enemy, how should I say this? We never underestimate the enemy. So basically, we always notice that no matter how many losses the enemy suffers, they always try to replenish their forces. Overall, their actions look like this. They replenish their personnel in the following way. That is, for example, if a battalion sector is carrying out a mission in a certain area of responsibility, and if they achieve some advances, they send in assault companies from their reserves, which are constantly being prepared specifically for this battalion, in order to continue the offensive precisely in the direction where they manage to either infiltrate or achieve some tactical success at their level. So basically, that's what their replenishment looks like right now. But considering the fact that we are persistently and systematically launching strikes against their vital logistical supply routes, as well as the specific areas where they gather and concentrate their strategic personnel, heavy equipment, and essential supplies, the replenishment of large military groups like that is effectively being obstructed and halted for their forces at this time.
The analytical resource Deep State reports that the Slavic direction is one of the most complex and chaotic sections of the front due to deep Russian infiltration. Well, what contributes to this infiltration of Russians? Is it a lack of our personnel? Is it a specific area or other factors?
Well, actually, talking about deep enemy infiltration is a bit incorrect because, in principle, we are constantly here and see the situation directly 24/7 in real time. And accordingly, taking into account the tactics the enemy uses, to some extent the fact that the enemy infiltrates is basically a kind of tactical hitch. You know, we monitor where the enemy is going, where they are trying to concentrate. And accordingly, why should we use, for example, 16 drones for 16 people individually, if we can say use 3 drones for 16 people instead, roughly speaking? That is, accordingly, all of this is done with, you could say, military management. In other words, everything is calculated, everything is monitored, and we try to do everything possible to prevent the enemy from slipping through. But there are cases when the enemy can enter the space between positions without us noticing. Primarily, this is due to the difficult terrain, because this particular direction is now known for its densely planted forest belts. Well, in principle, this is present in all directions, but here there are specific features related to changes in elevation. That is, there are elevation changes here, there are breaks, edge quarries where they try to hide, and to some extent, for example, by using anti-thermal imaging cloaks at night, we simply might not notice them. But just as this works for the enemy, it also works for us. So basically, both sides use these means for camouflage and for any actions in general.
Understood. Mr. Volodymyr, thank you very much for the conversation, and above all, thank you for your service. That was Volodymyr Hulyahin, head of the communications department of the 81st Separate Airmobile Slobosanska Brigade of the Air Assault Forces. Yes.
Right now, in the temporarily occupied south of our country, a large-scale, unprecedented operation is unfolding, carried out by the Ukrainian Unmanned Systems Forces and the legendary 412th Nemesis Brigade. The results are astounding. The supply lines of the Russian group along a vast section of the front are practically paralyzed. The latest Ukrainian drones, codenamed Secret Wings, which have never before been shown publicly, have been deployed in battle. Ukrainian drones have turned the key strategic artery Mariupol, Melitopol, Simferopol into a real hell, forcing the Russian command to panic and close the R280 highway. How does Ukraine's new secret weapon work? Why didn't the field roads save the Russians, and how are SBS systematically wiping out the enemy's southern grouping? You can find more information in our report. My name is Yevhen Sirov. This is the Glavred channel. Subscribe and give us a like. Let's get started. Let's break down the geography and significance of this operation. The land corridor to Crimea is the main logistical lifeline that supports the entire Russian grouping in the Zaporizhzhia and Kherson regions, as well as on the peninsula. The route Mariupol, Melitopol, Simferopol, hundreds of fuel tankers, trucks loaded with ammunition, heavy equipment, and personnel are being moved along this route around the clock. And now, the drone forces together with the Nemesis Brigade have begun systematically and mercilessly burning out this artery. Ukrainian forces struck deep behind enemy lines. The main targets were not just individual vehicles, but entire convoys of trucks and fuel tankers. The operation proved so effective that dozens of destroyed vehicles literally blocked the movement. The occupation authorities and Russian generals were forced to take extraordinary measures. They officially restricted the movement of heavy military equipment on the strategic R280 highway, which connects mainland southern Ukraine with Crimea. This is a colossal success, which means that the supply lines to Russia's forward positions have already begun to collapse. But the main secret of this success lies in the weaponry used by the Ukrainian armed forces. The official statement from the Nemesis Brigade notes that the latest UAVs are being used for the strikes, drones that, until today, were kept under the strictest secrecy and had not been shown to the general public. The Secret Wings complex was developed by Ukrainian engineers specifically for one task: the destruction of logistical targets at great distances deep behind enemy lines. These drones have extended flight range, high resistance to Russian electronic warfare systems, and advanced optics. The most interesting thing is that the Russian troops' attempts to hide by leaving the main paved roads for field dirt roads have completely failed. The new Ukrainian systems monitor the southern steppes around the clock. Drones detect and destroy camouflaged fuel trucks even outside the main routes. The occupiers have found themselves in a trap. They can't risk going onto the R280 highway, they'll be burned. On the dirt roads, they'll be taken out by the new Secret Wings. The systematic destruction of the rear is draining Russian units on the front line even before they have a chance to enter the fight. Do you think the Russian army will be able to find protection against the new Ukrainian drones? Will a complete paralysis of the road to Crimea force the occupiers to start making gestures of goodwill in the coming months? Share your thoughts in the comments, leave a like, and subscribe to the channel.